The dust is yet to settle over the discovery of fake registered voters by Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, had earlier stated that the National Voters Register is filled with fake and foreign names. Yesterday, a former member of the House of Representatives, Honorable Uche Onyegocha, on the show also noted that a fake voters registration, which INEC uncovered, must not be overlooked by security agencies. CUPP, a body for all political parties in the country, further alleged it had evidence that some of the registrants in the register were captured from passport photographs and other photos. It expressed concerns that such fraudulent acts could mar the credibility of the 2023 general elections. Joining us now is Auwal Musa Rafsanjani, Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC, and Head of Transparency International, Nigeria. Good morning, Rafsanjani, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning.
Well, do you have any concerns about this voters register? We had that allegation from the CUPP leader and spokesperson, Igwe Ugo Chinyere. But then INEC has said there is no such thing, and that in any case, supplemental activities are ongoing to clean up the register, and that INEC has not altered the voters register in any way, in any part of the country, and that in any case, whatever INEC comes up with will be displayed publicly for transparency and accountability reasons. Where do you think all of this is coming from? True, not true, voters register, this and that, considering the importance of the voters register?
Nigerians have legitimate and credible concern over the way and manner in which these allegations are coming up, because it is not only going to create a kind of credibility and legitimacy for the 2023 general election, but it is also an attempt to even rubbish the entire efforts and work that have been done so far. It appears that some politicians are working day and night to ensure that the 2023 general election is sabotaged through manufacturing or allegedly manufacturing this kind of voter register. And therefore, INEC has the duty and responsibility to assure the general public that these allegations are not true. And it is not just about, babble talk or dismissal or just writing a statement, but to also, verify and convince Nigerians that this allegation is not actually true. But there's no way Nigerians, going by what we are seeing, going by the desperation by some political class in Nigeria, there's no way Nigerians should just, overlook this fake voter register. It is important that INEC rise up to defend its independence, its autonomy, its credibility, and actually assure Nigerians and the international community that there's no any plan or attempted plan by some few individual to rob Nigerians. This time around, Nigerians are watching, international communities, is also watching, and we cannot afford to fail the nation democracy again. The electoral process must be transparent, must be accountable one, in the sense that we have suffered a lot in the past, and that has made a lot of Nigerians to stay away from participating in the electoral process. But civil society, given the effort that we all, made collectively in this country to ensure that we have a better and improved electoral process in the country by enacting or amending the Electoral Act, many Nigerians were actually mobilized to participate in the process. And if they continue to see this kind of thing rightly or wrongly, it might demoralize many Nigerians from participating in the electoral process in the country. And by extension, when that happens, it means that the credibility of the election is completely compromised. And therefore, it is the duty of all the relevant authorities, not only INEC, but also the relevant security agencies to investigate this claim. This had been made public, and therefore INEC and the security agencies must not sit down to be watching or to consider this as a rumor, since those who brought this issue, they have brought in tangible evidences to prove their case. And therefore, I think INEC has the duty and responsibility to go further beyond just, dismissal, but to also come to, show Nigerians more empirical evidence to show what has happened. It is not, fake voter register, and that it is not, its system has not been compromised. Unless that has happened, going into the election, we'll go with some kind of worried and concern, and that, like I mentioned earlier on, will undermine the credibility of the 2023 general election, and Nigerians will no longer believe in the INEC, as well as governments claim to or to wanting to organize free, fair, credible election in Nigeria. This must be tackled with urgency that is needed in the country in order to restore hope and confidence that the process has not been compromised.
All right, so what should we do about this? I mean, some people have called for an independent verification team, if INEC will be willing just to allow people independently verify the status of the register. What would you say about that?
I think it is important that we build a system that we can trust. It is important that we make things to be more accessible and more verifiable and more authentic. And the only way Nigerians can see that what has been said is contrary to what INEC had mentioned is to showcase to Nigerians and build that confidence in them, where the register would be more accessible, more verifying, more evidence-based that it is not tampered with or that is not actually concocted, because the allegation that we have seen is that in the same register, you've seen so many names that are not even Nigerians' names. We have seen so many names that were completely, in fact, dead names, dead people names. So in order to ensure that this is taken away from the Nigerians, that's the worry, the concern, the allegation, is for INEC to publicly make any public or physical appearance of the register and put it in the website, put it in the in any physical way that Nigerians can be able to verify and be able to know each of the electoral wards, in each of the polling units. You have not more than 500 usually. So it shouldn't be difficult for people to easily go and verify where, those kind of doubts are. Until you are able to do that, we will go with this impression that some people have actually decided to undermine the collective effort of Nigerians' aspiration to have free, fair, credible, and acceptable election in Nigeria. Because some politicians, they don't really care about the integrity and the image of the election or even the country itself. We can no longer be a laughing stock. I think some of these politicians need to understand that that era is past becoming an old passion to undermine this kind of effort that Nigerians have put to ensure that we do election. Nigeria is spending a lot of money. Nigeria is spending a lot of resources. Civil society are having sleepless nights, working day and night to mobilize, conscientize, and encourage Nigerians to participate in the electoral process that will lead to having more transparent and more accountable election in the country. Because Nigerians are tired of corruption. They are tired of insecurity. They are tired of, lack of job and lack of, comfort in their country. And therefore, the only means, which is through democracy, is to participate in the election. And we have done everything possible to see that we encourage Nigerians to, have their voter register and to also participate. But some politicians are working day and night to demoralize Nigerians by coming up with such kind of things, which I think, is really not fair and is not good. But I think we must continue as people, as concerned citizens, as active citizens, to continue to demand accountability in every steps that either INEC or the political parties themselves have taken. Because we can no longer just sit down and watch some people, destroying this country. Look at what is going on today. The debt profile and all sort of devious spending in the country has gone, in the most ridiculous, ways in the country. And some people are comfortable. The country is sinking and is being destroyed. We can no longer afford to continue to have this luxury of irresponsible leadership in the country at local, state, and national level. And the only opportunity for Nigerians to change this crook and bad leaders, at all levels, is through democratic election. It's through a transparent election. It's through an election that will be, popular and participated by Nigerians, and a system that can guarantee one man, one vote, one woman, one vote. Not that, people will go and concoct fake voter register or do anything that will destroy the integrity of the election. We cannot allow such thing to happen because we will be a laughing stock in the community of nations. Nigeria cannot allow itself to be ridiculed by some few tiny, desperate, corrupt, politically exposed persons in the country to undermine our collective image and integrity. That is not possible. So therefore, civil society organization, particularly Transition Monitoring Group, that is, leading so many groups, hundreds of groups in Nigeria to ensure that we have peaceful, fair, credible, and acceptable election in Nigeria. We can no longer sit down and watch this tiny group of people whose their mission is simply to steal the country resources, to create more conditions for insecurity, to create more conditions for hopelessness and lack of comfort, as well as enmity among the ordinary people. We can no longer allow that to happen. We will use our own advocacy, our own engagement, constructive engagement, to deconstruct this mafia thing that they are plotting. Because if you don't do that, it means that we will sell our country in the next 4 years, or only God knows. So this is an opportunity to alert Nigerians, to alert the whole, world about this calculated attempt by some desperate, irresponsible, and completely undemocratic elements in our country to rig the 2023 election.
Rafsanjani, I was going to ask you about this. One of the proposals before we go to this moment was that the deployment of technology would help to address many of these concerns. And INEC spokespersons, Festus Okoye and others, they have said, look, INEC has a very strong technology in place, and that we've seen this in some of the off-cycle elections. First, the BVAS, the bimodal verification and accreditation system. And then something they also called ABIS, which is the automated biometric identification system, which INEC claims, will be deployed on election day in all the over 171,000 polling units that we have across the country in 74 local governments. But now some people are saying that the technology may not work. And that in fact, BVAS and ABIS depend on broadband, and that nobody should trust the kind of technology that INEC plans to deploy. Do you share that view?
Well, it's very clear that we have an improved electoral system in the country compared to the previous election that we've had. And even with the testing of the new technology in some of the states where election took place, we could see improvement. However, this we cannot simply assume that those who did not wish Nigerians to have free, fair, credible election will allow this to work. As they are working day and night to undermine even INEC itself, they are working day and night to undermine the aspiration of Nigerians in order to have, electoral system that will actually give more legitimacy, credibility, and acceptance to not only Nigerians, but also international community. So we must not take it for granted because we have all this in place that, things will work. And that is why we must have active citizen participation and monitoring of every steps. So what these, political party groups have done is good to alert the nation so that even if there was any plan by those, desperate politicians, at least now they have been exposed, their agenda has been exposed, and that Nigerians and INEC, as well as security agencies, they will be watching, there will be more apprehension, there will be more, meticulous observation on what is going on within the INEC itself and generally for the conduct of the general election. So while we acknowledge and appreciate the determination by INEC itself to ensure that it does organize credible election, but we cannot also take it for granted that those who do not wish us to have free, fair, credible election will let it go. They would come up with so many processes, so many ways to undermine or to counter what INEC is going to be putting in place, because they are desperate and they can hire or they can use every technology to counter what INEC will do. This allegation that came up, nobody could imagine that the desperate politician will be able to put together what they have put. Even if it is not real voter register, for them to have come up with such kind of thing, it is scaring and it is worrisome. Therefore, you cannot take it for granted that they will not even plan more evil. It is only through the active citizen participation and monitoring that we can be able to probably disorganize their, agenda of not allowing election to go the way it is, or to even allow INEC to conduct, an election that will be good for Nigeria and, for even the international community to begin to learn the good thing from Nigeria. I think there's nothing wrong for the citizens, civil society, media, concerned Nigerians to rise up and be able to defend what is all our collective, effort and chance to ensure that we have a system that will guarantee credible election in Nigeria. We need to support INEC. We will be, we are already a civil society transition monitoring group, Center for Democracy and Development, CISLAC, a lot of civil society organizations that are working on election observation, are supporting INEC to have a better electoral, conduct, election that will be good, for all of us, that will be proud, without allowing some few individuals to undermine our, collective aspiration.
Okay, Mr. Auwal.
So civil society will continue to provide that, support to INEC to ensure that that is done. However, we need the political support from the government itself. If the government itself, it is not, and particularly the ruling party, is not also cooperating, it will be difficult for other opposition political parties to cooperate and do the right thing. So the responsibility, there's a moral responsibility from the ruling party and the government to ensure that, they support every credible and every sincere effort to have free, fair, credible election in Nigeria. Any attempt not to do that, not to demonstrate that, will give an impression that there's plot from the government or some people, some government official. They are actually helping to connive to undermine even INEC itself. So government must come clear and be able to push and support INEC to ensure that this election is not compromised.
Mr. Rafsanjani, I'd like to say a very big thank you to you. You've enunciated your points succinctly. You've made very, very strong and salient points there. Thank you so much for your time as we talk about the electionary process.